Welcome to the Sci-Fi Evolution channel. I have never been particularly adept at following instructions, especially when a towering figure of a celestial champion descends from a metallic landing craft, clad in armor that appears to be carved from dark matter. Her eyes shine like twin suns behind a black visor, and her jaw is sharp enough to slice through an apple. Her voice is deep and terrifying, in the most unsettling way possible. I was just a simple logistics technician, nothing extraordinary. I handled boxes, loaded crates, pressed buttons that beeped, and pretended to understand intergalactic customs forms. I was not supposed to be in the presence of the first spear of the astral dominion, but fate or poor planning put me in her path. She glanced down at the manifest in my hand, then at me. "Terran," she said. I swallowed. Her voice hit me like a thunderclap behind closed doors. She regarded me as if I was either prey or an unappetizing snack. "You were the handler for Cargo 7. It was not a question." I nodded, my heart pounding. "That's me, Kalen Vance, the Terra Nova Fleet part-time box wrangler, the full-time charming rogue." She tilted her head, her braided white hair shimmering with a faint glow. She approached, her charm radiating. It was the way she said it, as if the word was a forbidden incantation that had never dared to cross her lips until now. Naturally, I panicked. Terrans often use humor to ease tension, and I suppose I said that because I glanced at her hips. A grave mistake, a colossal error, a catastrophe even. Her lower half was perfectly symmetrical, a tactical advantage for combat balance. Her visor slid up, revealing golden eyes and a look of utter disbelief. "Did you just compliment my rear?" "No, I mean yes, but not in a strange way." She blinked once, twice, and her cheeks, sharp and sculpted, tinted a faint shade of violet. She blushed, and then she slapped me. I flew backward, crashing into a cargo pallet and knocking over a stack of thermal cores. My back hurt, and my pride was bruised. Everything ached. She approached me, her armor clanking like a dirge. "I accept," I groaned. "Accept what you have made clear. You will report to my warship by twilight. Bring your mating documentation. You have flirted with me in front of witnesses," she said, gesturing towards the horrified docking crew. "You have acknowledged the beauty of my form and attempted to establish dominance through humor. These are the rituals of astral dominion courtship. I was just being foolish, not romantic." "The same," she said. "Among warriors, foolishness and boldness are indistinguishable." She turned on her heel and walked away. And just like that, I was engaged to an alien celestial champion. The warship was called Crimson Scythe, which roughly translates to Blood Crystal Vengeance in Astral Domanic. That should have been my first clue that this was not going to be a relaxing honeymoon. I stood in the docking bay, surrounded by towering warriors in blackened armor. Each of them. "You're late," she said. I glanced at the strange clock, which indicated that only 30 seconds remained. My companion would either be punctual or face the consequences. "I think there has been a misunderstanding. I didn't intend to propose. I was simply being Terran." "You have succeeded," she said flatly. "Now you are mine." She walked away, leaving me no choice but to follow her through a vast hall adorned with glowing orbs and what appeared to be preserved heads. "I'm unfamiliar with your customs," I said. "I'm trying to keep up. Shouldn't there be a courting phase?" We walked in silence. She stopped at a set of bronze doors, which hissed open. Inside was a chamber the size of a basketball court. One half was a tranquil garden with blue crystals. The other half was surrounded by weapons. It was both romantic and perhaps terrifying. "This is your chamber for mating," she said calmly. I coughed. "Wow, direct you, celestial champion. No beating around the bush, huh?" She turned slowly. There is a ceremony of beating the bush, which comes after the trial of fire and before the oath of suffering. Okay, I'm just going to pretend I didn't hear that. She stepped closer, her eyes glowing faintly. You fear me. I mean, yes, you are a foot taller, stronger than a rhino, and you will slap me next week for calling you a nice guy. You were foolish, she agreed, but also bold. We honor such audacity, she leaned in. You intrigue me, Kalen Vance. No one flirts with the first spear, and no one survives doing so. That's heartwarming. You are to remain here. Do not touch anything ceremonial. Do not challenge anyone to a duel. Do not die. Wait, what? But she was already gone. I looked around the room, then at the pile of consort robes left on a glowing table. One was made of chain mail. One was made of feathers. The third just said, "Bite me, angry alien." I sat down and covered my face with my hands. Flirting with her had been a mistake, but now I wondered if not flirting would have been even worse. They woke me up, what I assumed was early in the morning, by banging on a drum the size of a small SUV. A loud voice echoed through the room. The trial of worth had begun. If you die, you will be replaced. What was the trial about? 2 armored warriors escorted me, dragging me down a corridor that smelled like fire, sweat, and unresolved trauma. I was still wearing a robe with angry symbols, which I later learned said fragile flesh. They pushed me into a large arena surrounded by snarling Astral Dominion soldiers. The stone floor was scorched, the walls were decorated with ceremonial weapons, and across from me stood a mountain of angry muscle and armor, hissing with heat. Combatant Corvin, the announcer called out, Seeker of the Blade, 12-time winner of the trial. The crowd cheered. The announcer gestured towards me, perplexed. Ah, Terran male Kalen, he sneered, referring to the rear end of the first spear. The audience erupted in a mixture of laughter and disdain, as if they were about to devour me. Corvin raised a flaming battle axe and advanced towards me, resembling an enraged volcano. I was unarmed, unarmored, and equipped only with flip-flops and a defiant attitude. With a menacing growl, he declared, "I am not insured for interstellar homicide." I offered a response, but he grunted and swung. I instinctively ducked, and he missed, his axe embedding into the stone wall with a resounding crash. The shockwave sent me sprawling onto my backside. "All right," I muttered. "Stay low and strategize in a state of panic." He bellowed and returned. I rolled over, and he stumbled over my discarded sandal, crashing into the wall with a loud thud. The audience gasped, and I blinked. Did I just? He stood up, blood trickling from his nose, and yelled, "You dare to mock me, Terran? I mean, you did that to yourself, didn't you?" I replied, brushing off the dust from my robe. "I was simply trying to get here." To avoid dying in flip-flops, he charged, and I did the most Terran thing I could think of. I gestured behind him and shouted, "Look, your honor is escaping." He reflexively turned, and I kicked him in the back. He stumbled forward into a pillar, disoriented. The crowd fell silent. Then someone clapped, then others. Then the entire room erupted in laughter and war cries. Corvin lay groaning, entangled in ceremonial banners. A horn sounded. The battle was over. The announcer declared, Terran Kalen achieved victory through dishonorable cunning. There was a pause, which we now consider honorable. The crowd went wild. I was still catching my breath when Aliana entered the arena from the upper gallery. She looked at me as if I had grown another head. "You barely survived. You improvised in a moment of panic. You won," she said with a faint smile. "Technically," she motioned to the crowd, and they all bowed their heads, even Corvin, who was still recovering. He was coughing up blood and grinning as if he had just witnessed his mother kissing a volcano. "You have completed the first challenge," she declared. "Wait first," Aliana said, her smile widening slightly. There are 4 more challenges before the mating ceremony. I looked up at her. You are relishing this, she said. I am preparing you for what it means to be my mate. I muttered. Death by flirting. What a way to go. She turned her head, her voice echoing in the chamber. Rest well, Kaylin Vance. Tomorrow is the trial of fire. I slumped to the ground. A single compliment. That's all it took, and now I'm a gladiator in a sci-fi romance novel. God help me. It turns out the trial of fire is not just a metaphor. It's very real. I was escorted to a circular room filled with glowing red-hot metal, molten lava flowing, and at least 3 dragons made entirely of plasma. Probably for show, hopefully for show. The same small alien attendant handed me a scroll. To pass the trial of fire, you must forge a weapon worthy of the first spear. I don't know how to forge anything but excuses. The attendant blinked. Then you will die artistically. Before I could protest, the heavy doors slammed shut. They gave me a forge and tools I didn't know how to use, and a chunk of, or that pulsed like a heartbeat. Somewhere above, astral dominion elites observed from their balconies, conversing in their harsh tongue. Among them, Aliana stood, regal and radiant, her gaze fixed on the proceedings. Don't die, I muttered to myself, wiping the sweat from my brow. Or die, but make it a spectacle. I swung the hammer. It bounced. I tried again. A spark flew into my sleeve. I panicked and accidentally knocked it out, sending the tongs into the lava. I took a deep breath, focused, and tried again. After an hour of trial and error and many burned fingers, I finally achieved something. It was not a masterpiece, not even symmetrical, but a blade. More like a metal banana with a pointy end. I held it up proudly. The crowd fell silent. Then one judge laughed. Then another. And then everyone was laughing, except Aliana. She stood, descended the steps slowly, and entered the chamber. I swallowed. I had passed. She walked up to me, stared at the blade, then at me. You forged this. I forged something. In technical terms, she seized the weapon, flipped it over, and sliced it. With a single swipe, she effortlessly divided the heavy metal testing block in 2. The sound of the blade cutting through the block was so loud that it even silenced the laughter. She glanced back at me. The blade was unrefined, crude, and awkward. It was painful, but it was also unexpected and effective. It was a defiant act. She handed the blade back to me. This blade is a reflection of its creator, and I approve. Wait, what? Aliana moved closer. You're confusing me, Kaylin Vance. I'm confused myself. You lack discipline and technique. Is this a pep talk or a scolding? But you have spirit and courage. Fire. Her hand brushed against my shoulder. She flinched at the contact, as if it surprised her. Then she let it linger. You make me laugh. You make me feel things I haven't felt since I was young and foolish. Oh, are you saying I make you feel young and foolish? She blinked, stunned for a moment, then smirked. Careful. I could still incinerate you. Yes, but you won't. Why not? Because then you'd have to find a new fool to drag through these trials. There was a long pause. Then she chuckled, not a menacing growl or a battle cry, a genuine sound of amusement. She shook her head. You are not what I expected. Neither are you, she said. I am a celestial champion, but sometimes you act like a Terran, she added. Her expression changed, as if no one had ever dared to say such a thing to her before. I will see you tonight, she said softly, preparing for the trial of truth. Do I need to bring a fireproof banana again? She laughed, actually laughed, and then disappeared into the mist. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I was starting to like her. God help me. I was falling for a 7-foot alien celestial champion with commitment issues and an arsenal larger than Terra Nova's navy. And the most frightening part was that she might actually like me back. The trial of truth was not held in a forge, an arena, or a training hall. It was held in silence, in a circular chamber of glass and starlight, floating somewhere at the top of the crimson scythe. There were no weapons, no audience, just me and her. Aliana stood in the center, dressed in something softer than armor, ceremonial robes of deep blue. Embroidered with golden scars, she appeared almost Terran. She motioned for me to sit, and I did. Then, a voice, not hers, but something ancient and telepathic, echoed in my mind. "Speak your truth. One cannot bond if they carry lies," she said. I blinked. "Oh, we're just diving headfirst into this, aren't we?" Aliana spoke first. "When I was young," she said quietly, "I was trained for war, for duty, for legacy. I have never known gentleness, never been touched with affection. My mother died in the arena. My mate was chosen by politics. He died in combat. I never mourned him." She didn't flinch. She didn't cry. But her eyes dimmed. "I have never laughed until you." I swallowed. "I was never brave. I admit it. I fix crates. I tell bad jokes when I'm nervous. I flirt when I feel small. And next to you, Aliana, I've never felt smaller in my life." Her expression didn't change, but something in her posture softened. I didn't come here to fight or fall in love, but I did both. There I said it. The truth. The room was bathed in golden radiance. She advanced, towering over me, not as a warrior, but as a fierce, scarred, proud, and uncertain woman. "Do you accept me as I am?" she inquired. I nodded. "I accept you, you sarcastic idiot with a face that begs for a punch," she replied, her lips twitching. "You are mine, Kaylin Vance, and you are both terrifying and kind. Somehow, you have become my home." The light above flickered, and then there was silence. The chamber opened, and we stepped out. The crew bowed, not to her, but to us. She took my hand for the first time, not to force me or intimidate me, but to hold it. "You have completed all 5 trials," she said, looking at me as if I were a puzzle she wanted to solve forever. "And I passed the only one that mattered, the one that allowed someone in, and I was allowed to keep the weapon I forged. It was ugly, but now it hangs over our bed. We travel through the stars. Sometimes she conquers planets, and I handle logistics reports. Occasionally, I get a slap for saying something foolish, but now she kisses me. After our wedding, a battlefield, of course, with matching armor. She still calls me soft Terran, and I still call her but looks tactical. She never stops blushing when I do, and a slap, yes, it still hurts. But love hurts in the best ways.